Hello there everyone, and welcome to the second edition of Sound and Sophia's Cigar Sessions. Today I got an AJ Fernandez cigar with me and one of my favorite whiskeys in the world, a Lafroy. So let's begin to crack open this one, shall we? Cheers, everybody. Alright, lovely. First off, I want to give you guys an update. I'm almost done with the reading on Descartes, so I'm almost ready to be able to go to France to record the episodes on him. But at the moment, I'm a little bit short on funds, so I'm gonna have to wait a little bit. It's very expensive to travel in Europe, so I'm gonna wait a little bit. But if you guys want to, I would really appreciate it if you would support me on Patreon. I'll put down a link down in the description below if you'd like to. And also, if you want to, all the music that you hear on this episode and many on my other episodes is music performed and produced by myself and my trio. And we're soon about to head into the studio and record our second album. So if you're interested, please subscribe to the Sound and Sophia Records channel as well. I'll put that link down in the description to that as well. Alright, you guys, let's begin with today's subject, shall we? I want to start off. A couple of years ago, I found the British philosopher Sir Roger Scruton on YouTube. At first, I was thrilled. I finally thought that, oh, here is a philosopher, a contemporary philosopher that I really do enjoy listening to. But then I found out that he had passed away only a couple of weeks prior to me finding him, which really saddened me. But I would really recommend you guys to check him out on YouTube. There is tons of lectures, discussions, and on various topics. Just type him in the search. He's great. And I'm also basing this talk a little bit on one of the discussions he had with a couple of other British philosophers on the ontology of love. There, Scruton begins with talking about the love shared between the Greek gods in the ancient mythology, which is actually, in a way, impossible. Let me elaborate a little bit. Because the thing is, you always value the thing that would hurt the most to lose. Take, for instance, the love between a mother and her child. The loss of that child would be devastating. But let's say, hypothetically, that all of a sudden, both the mother and the child becomes immortal, which means she doesn't have to protect the child anymore. And even more, she can't lose the child anymore. The bond between them is gone. So an essential part of love is mortality. You don't value what you can't lose. So the love between the Greek gods is actually impossible because they are immortal. And maybe this is why in the theology of the Greek myths, why Zeus was so attracted to mortal human beings, because the element of losing them was present, which it wasn't with Hera. And this is also coupled with the idea that immortality would remove ambition. Let's say hypothetically that you would become immortal. Why would you ever get up in the morning and do something hard that would make you a stronger or better human being? Because you can just do it the next day, or the next week, or the next year, or the next millennia for that matter. You will never do anything really, because you can always do it some other day. Because the thing is also that you value the thing that you don't have a lot of. For instance, if someone is a billionaire, he doesn't value money the same way as a poor person. Because the more you have of something, you value it less. And the same thing goes with days and time. The more time you have, the less you will value it. If you have an infinite number of days, you won't value every single day as we humans do, because we know they are limited. So the interesting thing about death is that it is the thing that pushes us forward in our development and enables us to love. And there is many scientists today that tries everything in their power to enable us to live longer and longer, to be able to live for centuries. And I'm not so sure that is desirable, really. But alright, let's go back to love again. Another aspect that I've realized is, at least according to the Western romantic tradition of love, is freedom. Freedom is very important when we consider what we consider real love. For instance, we want to be chosen by our significant other freely. If there is something else in the equation, we don't really consider it real love. Take for instance, if someone is filthy rich and single, that can be a huge problem, because if they're on a date, they will never know if the other person is only in it for the money. But you want to be loved for who you are and not what you possess. If we once again go back to the philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, in the aesthetic sphere, which we discussed in the last episode, where someone is simply following his pleasures in the instantaneous moment, the interesting thing about that is that freedom of choice doesn't really exist within that sphere, because you're only following your kicks, what you want in that moment. But if you move up a tier to the ethical sphere, one acknowledges his or her own freedom, and more importantly, you acknowledge other people's freedom, because in the aesthetic sphere, other people don't have freedom, because they simply are tools for you to gain more pleasure. Speak about pleasure. Now it's time to rate the cigar and whiskey. Well, cigar was pretty okay, but still, 3 out of 5 cigars. But the whiskey though, this is one of my favorites actually. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. It's not my absolute favorite, but still a good one. But I really did enjoy the combination of these two. It's a really good one. Alright you guys, we reached the end. Thank you so much for watching. As always, been a pleasure. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, there is much more to come. And as always, take care until the next one.